immediately with that. So we'll share a screen here, make it fancy. Maybe I can make it full screen if I can remember the key combination. I did. That means extra points from everybody as well. One thing I like to do is I love to see reactions of people while I'm talking. It really means a lot to me to talk to people. So feel free to chat as much as you want. I might not be reading it at any given moment. I might not be looking at it at every second that I'm looking at it. So, but I do love to see the chat scroll sometimes. It helps me out in kind of getting an understanding of what people are thinking. And it's a lot better because I can't look at everybody's faces while I'm talking. So yes, I am Gant Laborde, or if you wanted to say Gant Laborde, I am one of the. My company is Infinite Red, and it is the best React Native consultancy in the world. It's a pleasure to come talk to you at Gun.io, which I think is pretty much that means a gun input output. That's a holster. So this company is the holster. That's where things go, and I want to talk a little bit about the beautiful world that we're in with AI. And the what I will say that ends up happening here is that we are in a really interesting stage in the AI revolution. And I want to say, like, everybody says, oh, AI is going to change the world. It's going to become this new and impressive, amazing thing. But then we're all kind of waiting for that, right? And then we see little things that just wow us for about a month. Everybody goes, well, yeah, what are we going to do with that? And so I want to talk a little bit about the idea of where we are in the AI revolution. And I also want to talk a little bit in the sense that don't be afraid. If you don't have your PhD in linear algebra, you're going to do just fine today. We're going to be talking about it from much more of like a business perspective, which is, I think, the most approachable, realistic, and practical way to think about AI. And so I say the world of technological innovation, the breakthrough industry that hasn't been realized yet. And so if you normally see most AI presentations, they look a little bit like this, a little put offish. You have this sort of technical overlay of things, and we're talking about the cool science fiction future, but that feels so distant from where we are. I'm often reminded about the whole idea of us doing what was it, Back to the Future 2, where we're supposed to have hoverboards and flying cars by 2020. I'm still waiting on my delivery for mine right now, but must be Amazon 18-year delivery, so we'll see. So I want to make sure that this is much more approachable, right? We're going to talk about this from a perspective that feels like something that should be tangible. And who am I to talk about this? My name's Gant Laborde. I'm the CIO at Infinite Red as well. And one of the things I do is I talk to people about awesome technology. We run Infinite Red. We're actually the world's premier React Native company. If you're looking to go ahead and do React on multiple platforms like iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and as well as like Apple TV, Vision. Come to us. We love putting React in a bunch of places that it shouldn't be. It's a lot of fun. But at the same time, we're seeing an influx of people asking for more and more AI features. And so I did a deep dive into AI. I learned a lot about JavaScript and TensorFlow JS. And so I wrote a book. This is my appeal to authority for you all. I actually did the work to get published from O'Reilly. If you're ever interested in learning a little bit more about running machine learning models in JS, and I know I promised this wouldn't be super technical, but that's for people out there that are interested in actually checking out and learning a little bit more about running AI in JavaScript. There's the book. So I want to go ahead and identify AI not just for the industry, but more importantly for you. And this is where the application comes in to increase your quality of life. So, a quick history about where things have been for a while now. We've had AI all over the world for a bit, and it was created in the 1950s. The term artificial intelligence was actually created then. We're doing software, and then we say, like, look, we can kind of make it play tic tac toe as if it were a person. Then we start going into this new aspect of AI, and we start to hit the limitations for where we were at that time. In the 1970s, 1980s, we hit two different things called the AI winter. So if anybody refers to AI winter, there were some times where people just said, this has reached as far as it can go for a while. And it really kind of did a backslide for a bit where people couldn't get AI to do things that they wanted it to do. And then you see it leave the academic world to a large degree, not even being taught in basic computer science courses for a while, until we get the aspect of deep learning. Deep learning is the idea of adding more and more layers to a model to create this sort of superhuman capability where in 2012 we actually see it able to do things that we couldn't code before. AI with machine learning was able to do things that we didn't have the aspect to code before. And then we started getting near human-like capabilities in 2012. There's an old KCDC, like this old joke, XKCD on, oh, I need to tell whether there's a bird in this photo or not. And it's like, oh, well, I need 5 years in a research team. That was a joke back in 2012, but now we're able to sort of do these things in everyday products. And you can see the evolution in one of the major large companies, like Google. Google had nearly no machine learning models inside of production in Q1 of 2012. Upon realizing the quality and the capability that comes out of these things, you can see the graph going there. And by the Q4 of that same year, they had over 4,000 TensorFlow models in production at Google. This was the beginning of a giant spike. And we don't have any data after 2012, but I guarantee you this graph just shot into the stratosphere. We started using machine learning everywhere. And then you start to see this reflect in more public facing products, not just in quality of the things that were out there for the large Fortune 500s, but you start to see this big movement in November of 2022. We got to see ChatGPT. And for a lot of you, this was the moment where you're like, whoa, I didn't know it could do this. I didn't know it could do that. This is the beginning of insane generative AI to the point where it's become part of, if you are if you're following along, it should be part of your workflow every day. If you're not using ChatGPT or some other LLM every day, ooh, my first bit of advice is start using it every single day. Even if it just helps a little bit, you can run all your workflow through it as long as you're working on it, then it will continue to improve. As long as you continue to improve, our quality of life continues to improve. So you say, Gant, when are we going to get started here? When are we going, like I see this, right? But I'm looking around. It's 2024. We've had ChatGPT for a bit. And where's this quality change? Where is this revolution? Where are we with seeing this big change that you say that's coming? And so I want to talk about the story of ideas with you for a moment. And I think like this is going to go through a chance of explaining it from your perspective, whether you've been in business for a long time, whether you've tried your own startups, or whether you've tried, or you're just a developer who's like helping a product along. Um, I think you'll be able to identify with this story. It's recent enough. And so I want to kind of show you the idea of ideas. The truth is, when an idea first comes along, it's terrible. Does anybody remember the I Am Rich app for the iPhone? This $1,000 app that was just a red star that just showed that you are rich. And I think like four people actually bought this. So the guy who made the app made, what is it, like $4,000 just for going ahead and making this. It's just a silly app they put on App Store for the maximum price. And it goes to show you, like, when we first get something, we're just enamored at the simplicity of it, right? Alan Cooper says in the book, The Inmates Are Running the Asylum, he calls this the dancing bear. And I love to use that analogy, right? The dancing bear is that we are just impressed that the bear is dancing at all. We don't care how well the bear is dancing. We just are impressed that it happens. And so the first phase of anything is that we are just impressed that it's possible. But that wears off, and over time, we start to want something more, and that's where the product wave comes in. So there's the initial wave that comes through, the primary wave, And then the secondary waves where the real features come in. And I think that that's the analogy I want you to understand is where we're at with AI. To prove that, I'll just show it again. So, do you remember when maps were released? In 2005, we had this whole great idea like, oh, cool, you can go ahead and use APIs, you can use maps. And I remember when this happened. And I said, this is amazing. Now I can do something. And I wasn't the most creative developer when this happened. I was like, oh, maybe I can make my own custom map for like my neighborhood or friends. But turns out Google Maps had a way to make custom maps in it. So I was like, okay, well, that idea didn't work. What do I do? I have the access to this amazing new architecture, but I couldn't think of what to create, right? And then sure enough, a little bit of time passes and a little company called Uber says, "What if we use this to disrupt the cab market? What if you could see exactly where your ride was, where it's supposed to take you, and give you the custom map to bring you exactly right there?" It generates a custom map for where someone is and where you are, and then we'll take you there and then also show you what the path is, whether they're deviating from it, and you pay the entire thing by credit card. So that was of and now everybody comes up to you like let's go back to the idea of Uber. Everybody comes up to us as since I told you we build tons and tons of React Native apps. We build all kinds of mobile apps. I can't tell you how many times somebody has described an app as we're like Uber but for blank, right? It's the concept of Uber but for this. They don't say it's Google Maps but for this. It's the Uber idea, but for blank. So Google Maps was announced in 2005. Uber formed in 2009 and launched their app in 2011. This is a giant window between the dancing bear and the bear dancing well, right? So what happens? Like, why is this here? Like, why does it take us so long to kind of see this? And the truth is, we need to see an application of it that makes sense to us, and then the idea becomes simple. And the trick is, you could do that today instead of just giving up like I did in 2005 and seeing the API and saying, "Oh, that's cool," and then being done with it. There's tons and tons of AI applications, and since I've been in this AI market for years now, I see app ideas for products all the time in my head. I have way more than I can actually ever build. So will AI take the same amount of time? Probably not. It might actually go a lot faster because we start to see people continue to improve the quality of what happens. But what are the limitations that are holding AI back? Well, the first thing that happened, the reason it's been around for such a long time and it's taken a while is because that first wave, the computers were not capable of handling it. Computers were too big in the 50s. The amount of processes to build a neural network was too large. The memory size was just not going to work. The computing processing was impossible. Computers were the first limiting factor for AI being feasible. The second thing that stopped was when it came along was data. So data wasn't available. If you remember back to a long time ago, if you wanted to get 1,000 pictures of a kangaroo, you had to go ahead and get a Polaroid camera and a scanner and a trip to Australia. Like you could not go Google search pictures of kangaroos and get thousands upon thousands of pictures of them. There's no Reddit thread that you can pull data from to kind of get that. So data was holding it back. Then the next piece that happens here is where we're at right now, which is ideas and the last piece of it, which is fear. So the trick is where we are being held back right now, and the reason that's causing this gap right now is that one, we don't have enough ideas that are actually keeping things from happening because we haven't thought about it enough. And the second thing is people are careful because there's not legal precedent set. There's not, prior like setup for what will happen, what do you be held to, what will people be okay with this, what is culturally acceptable, and you can see people stepping on that grenade left and right. It causes fear as well. So we have two things holding us back. One, people aren't coming up with the ideas, and then two, people who are coming up with ideas are doing a terrible job at it. And then it's causing a fear market as well. So these are the two things causing that gap that we're going to see between the idea of the first dancing bear and the actual bear dancing well. So in that idea market where we are, why isn't this possible? So I would like to propose that AI is more like a new power source. It's even more complicated in a sense. The power source here is that we're applying old power source logic to new power source capabilities. And this is going to hold us back for a little while until we get those ideas. Now, I could talk about the different types of models real quick and start to give you these cool ideas. I want to push the idea market for you today. But the problem is when I start talking about these things, and I start talking about how to cut up models one way or another and talk about the different technical aspects, is that you start to lose people, right? Nobody wants to go ahead and go get their PhD in AI to go ahead and start applying it to their product. And I think that this is where the large disconnect is coming. So the trick is, I want to help you today. We're going to stop thinking about specific models and we're going to start thinking about special features. And this is what happens when a client comes with a disrupting idea, or I see somebody come through with the market and they have a great initiative. These cool things, they're thinking about the features. They're thinking about how these connect with people first. They're talking about, wouldn't it be great if we disrupted the market and we could do these things as the tool there, rather than just applying and gluing those two pieces together, like, oh, this exists and this is my product, shove them together. What is the connecting feature that's between those? So I'm gonna help you out with that a little bit. Let's talk about AI and LLMs. So instead of calling them LLMs, I want to think of them as digital assistants. They are not the product expert, they are the product helpers, right? They don't know what the fabric that's being made, they don't know the full aspect of everything that's there. These are the digital assistants that are helping you through the process. And so they shouldn't be held to the standard of being absolutely perfect with every single calculation or understanding the entire market. They should be connecting people back to their particular product. And I think that this is a very easy thing to do. So LLMs, let's think about it from the way that you have a digital assistant. Assistants don't make the products. They only know what's important about it. Second thing about digital assistants is they are not calculators or scientists, but they still need a calculator, right? Don't try to make it do everything. I know it's a large language model, but it's not an everything language model. And assistants are friendly, but do not make the product decisions. You have to be honest that this is an AI and limited. So if I were to give you a example of like a great experience, what if I walk into a glasses store and I wanted to talk to somebody about glasses and know all kinds of different aspects about what's in their market, what they have, what people buy, things like that. Not every single spec about it, but wouldn't it be nice if I had a digital assistant to help me out? And it's like, oh, it asked me intelligent questions like, are you looking for something sporty? Are you looking for something that has tinted abilities? Are you looking for this? And then limit down my selection like a person would. This is the digital assistant experience. This is something that I think is fantastic. As long as people understand that this is AI and you're not trying to hide behind anything, this could be added to a bunch of different products to give a personalized experience rather than trying to stop people from getting to your call center or something like that. I think people would appreciate a digital assistant and they don't appreciate when they're trying to reach a human and they get a digital assistant. So, where are these located now? They're mostly on servers, but I do think that there are smaller language models that you could implement that could be on device as well. There's a lot of really good things for small natural language models that can run in the browser and run on the device. And so you can move some cool stuff over there. And I do think that LLMs will eventually be over there. But just for instance, if you could do language identification on device, this actually costs you nothing. Running things on device or on the browser means that you don't even have to run the server for it. So you could do language identification, translation automatically, smart reply suggestions, and then also this whole idea of entity extraction is part of there as well. And so you can use these to make the work for the LLM even better. So, for instance, let's say I was asking a bunch of questions about a restaurant on a particular date in a particular location. You could have the entity extraction, grab that information, and then feed that into the LLM along with the generalized process there and to get a more efficient result using fewer tokens. So I do think that there's going to be a pipeline of models that we are going to see where you're not just going to have the LLM handle everything. And what we're seeing already is that LLMs can't handle everything. They have specialized LLMs and things like this that help give it the data that goes forward. So here's some models that already exist. There's LLMs. Just thinking about the whole idea of the digital assistant added to any product is an easy win. Again, there's image generation. So when you think about image generation, if anybody's played with it, how many of you played? Feel free to say so in the chat. You played with image generation. And one of the things I find that happens, yeah, see some hands raised. One of the things I find that happens is image generation, people are trying to completely replace like digital art. They're completely trying to replace exactly like, oh, I want to make this exactly the way I want it to be. But if you think of it as a concept artist, well, then you have tons and tons of work done for you. And this is the mind shift. Instead of just replacing people, think about a new step between there where you have a new concept artist. You could build prototype cars, clothes, logos, all kinds of different things before you actually bring it to a digital artist to get refined and adjusted to be properly balanced. So if you think of it this way, it's easy because one, concept artists don't need to be consistent in design. That's easy. You can actually have a bunch of different designs and go a bunch of different directions at the press of a button. You can have 1,000 logos generated for you, right? Concept artists don't need to get 100% right. Touch up laters are okay, right? And then the last part of thinking about generative AI is that concept artists inspire. You can make hundreds of designs and then choose. So if this step exists instead of you just trying to replace the people, then with this AI generative art becomes a time saver for not just you as the person, but also the other the people who are making it. You're handing them the final result. And there are also smaller image models that you can add to your product. Like for instance, we make the joke about enhance, enhance, enhance. That actually exists. 3D estimation, night vision, trying on makeup in the browser. Wouldn't it be cool if you could just like, or try on hair, and then you just hit, yes, I want to buy this product because I like the way it looked in the webcam. Converting people to characters. All these things already exist and can actually be run in smaller models on device. So with AI vision, we have a lot of these features as well. So look, my idea here is to continue giving you what these things should be in features rather than product, right? So AI vision's a secure watcher, and the secure watcher doesn't fall asleep, doesn't take a break, and can look for face detection, face mesh, text recognition, object detection tracking, pose detection, subject segmentation, and selfie segmentation. By the way, each of these should give you like a ton of products. We've done a pose detection for a for a healthcare product before. There's a lot of good options there, and then visual, you could do digital ink recognition, barcode scanning, and document scanning. There's just so many different features that you can get, and all of these that I just mentioned run on device. So they don't even require you the server fees for you to go ahead and take care of. And then the last thing I kind of want to touch on, because just to keep track of time here, is that obviously we can have AI recommendation, but instead of saying AI recommendation, I want you to think of it as a concierge, right? So you have the digital assistant and you have the concierge, and you can have them work together to make recommendations based on different aspects. You could recommend based on taste, based on what their friends like. And then usually, like I said a minute ago, you're going to get all these models to talk together because you want to get all this different information. So you can have the friends and their past history and their tastes all work together to feed into one model that can give proper recommendations. That's how you can give a good concierge. So that would be really cool. I'm gonna go back with the glasses analogy. I go on there and I start talking to the AI digital assistant, asking questions, and then it has my previous order history. Perhaps it has my friends. Perhaps it has some orders that was like looking at my face and grabbing that as well from face detection. It has the glasses I currently have. Puts that in a system and then gives me a series of recommendations based off of what I've talked to the digital assistant about And what I get from the concierge in order to go ahead and get the recommendations is saying, instead of saying, hey, we have 10,000 glasses at this store, pick one out, it says, based off of what we've just talked about, your past history and these other things, we have 5 pairs of glasses we'd love you to digitally try on your face right now with your webcam. And then you say, that looks great. I love option 2, 3, and 5. I hit add to cart. And then next thing you know, I'm purchasing those pairs of glasses. And I just went through a fantastic AI experience. I think that that is the future that's not too far away. So, is there more AI? Yes, there's plenty more options. I do recommend you kind of take a look at this, but don't look at it as the same aspect as like what the technology is. Take a look at it, what the features are. For instance, there's all kinds of cool things in medicine. There's there's the capability of identifying if something is out of the order or broken. Some people are scanning their cars for damage, things like that. There's so many different features and so many different AI aspects that are out there. It's more that not just what the technology does, or just knowing that whether you're using a RAG model on top, or you're using RAG with LLM or something like that. The key is like, what is the feature that it's going to give you? Because being a nerd is fun, but it's not a business. And so, like, the idea that I think we're stuck in, like I said, we're stuck in phase 3 and 4 of what these features could be when we're building mobile apps, or we're building websites, or we're building other cool products for people. The thing that happens here is that we are stuck in the, oh my goodness, the bear is dancing moment. Instead, I'm asking all of you to take a step back and think about what are the features that really make a big difference for here. Because ultimately, what I think good AI is great service. That's going to be where the change happens. That's what we're looking for. That's the piece that we should be asking ourselves. Every time you see a new cool YouTube video, every time you see a new cool thing that can happen, I want you to think about that. What service does this enhance? What features can I add? And in thinking in that way, I think you're thinking in why AI. And with that, my name is Gant Laborde. I work for the most wonderful company in the whole world, Infinite Red, and we build mobile apps for everybody, including apps that have AI features in them. And with that, I'm open for some Q&A. Thank you.